Here on the program. As we all know, last week was a very difficult week for South Africa. In fact, the week before was also a difficult one for our economy. The rand was immensely impacted by many things, including the violent student protests, as well as the finance minister being summoned to court. And this affected both the markets and small businesses. According to Bierman, the managing director of Business Partners Limited, the current challenging economic landscape, which is compounded by economic uncertainty, caused by the potential ratings downgrade and the increasing uncertainty around the pivotal role of the finance minister, is rapidly eroding the South African business owners' confidence levels. Ben is in studio here with us to talk a little bit more about what's happening at the moment. Ben, thank you. Welcome to the studio.
Good morning, Dan.
According to your SME Index in the third quarter of 2016, I'm just reading the findings. It's revealed that the small business owners' confidence levels were at 56%. So put us in perspective. Where are they normally?
Dan, we were quite surprised to see the results of our latest survey because it's lower than it's ever been in the last 2 years,
Okay.
even lower than what we experienced in the beginning of the quarter 2016, just after we had the previous firing of the finance minister. So I think it's indicative of the issues that you raised initially in your introduction, that we are looking at a period of unprecedented uncertainty in South Africa, especially in the economy, and all of this are contributing to eroding the confidence levels that business people need to have to continue investing in the economy to grow their businesses. We are concerned about it, so if one looks at the outcome of our survey and the areas that it covers, small business owners are particularly concerned about their clients paying them on time. And that is, again, for us, a barometer of the broader economic difficulties that everybody is experiencing. If they don't get their payments on time, it sometimes impacts their businesses so badly that it might even push them out of business. I think some of the smaller clients, it's true to say that if they don't get paid on a Friday, it's difficult for them to continue working on the next Monday. And I think that's to us the big concern at this stage in the sense that small businesses serve government, they serve big business, and they serve the people in the street like you and me.
Yeah.
And everybody is feeling the pressures of a difficult economic environment.
Let's have a look at sort of the impacts of what's been happening over these last couple of weeks. And I brought up the fact of what's happening to our finance minister being summoned. We're seeing something that's happening with the fees must fall. I'm not even sure if that is impacting it. We've seen the rand taking a bit of a hammering, recovering slightly. So there's been a lot of issues happening that's been affecting our economy. What is the impact on small business?
I think the issues you raised all leads to more uncertainty and the inability to plan. And I think that's the most important one. The narrative at the moment is this noisy democracy of ours, and it's getting noisier by the day if one looks at the fees must fall. But the uncertainty, I think, is the biggest impact on small business because it just means that you can't plan, you can't invest in growth, and you can't employ those additional people that you actually wish you want or that you want to employ at this point in time. But because of the uncertainty, you just don't take the plunge and commit yourself to actually providing the additional job opportunities for those individuals that need to expand your business.
Yeah, it's quite incredible. I mean, we're talking about small businesses and yet big businesses being affected dramatically as well. In fact, over this weekend, we saw an unprecedented move by approximately 80 different CEOs across South Africa with this CEO initiative where they're pledging their support and they're pledging to oppose the prosecution of our finance minister, all coming together under many, many umbrellas. And I'm not only just talking about CEOs, there's also big business chambers as well. So there's a definite and concerted effort from South Africa to keep this economy going against all odds.
I think we have to. We don't have a choice. The statement that came out over the weekend, I think it's all about meritocracy in the sense that it's against corruption, it is against dishonest dealings, and it's for good governance and principled leadership. So everybody needs to support that. I think any rational business person would like to see the economy growing, and what we need for the economy to continue to grow with the medium-term policy statement coming out this week is some cohesion and some alignment behind a plan such as the National Development Plan to ensure that everybody does their little bit to get our economy growing again.
Yeah. Before we end our conversation, I need to talk about the ratings agencies. And yes, I mean, there's a big debate around ratings agencies, and we're seeing a push to try and get a BRICS rating agency.
Yes.
But at the moment, there is the ratings agencies that we know and that we're dealing with, and we're on the verge of being downgraded into junk status. And this is a big worry. In fact, I'm reading an article now in the newspaper where a lot of the ratings agencies are looking to Wednesday for this midterm budget to get an indication as to, you know, the way forward and where this leaves us. What is going to happen if South Africa gets put into junk status? Because this is not something that happens and then we get over it. I mean, this takes years to get out of. We're talking 6 to 7 years. The effect on small business, the effect on big business, the effect on South Africans. What are we looking at?
There's been lots of commentary around how it affects the South African economy, or how an economy gets affected by a ratings downgrade. I think a lot of the implications of a ratings downgrade has to a certain extent been already reflected in our current exchange rate. But it's important to note that once the ratings downgrade happens, the cost of debt will go up, the government will have less money to spend, interest rates will rise, and the irony and the sad thing about the ratings downgrade is that it will affect the poorest of the poor, I think, much more severely than what it would affect the big business. It takes a long time to get out of the ratings downgrade again. So for an emerging market, emerging economy like ours, and a growing economy, we need to ensure that there's enough of a fiscal framework for us to continue growing. The ratings downgrade will put a severe brake on any of the initiatives that we have to try and get the economy growing. But you're looking at higher interest rates, you're looking at an increase in inflation, you're looking at a higher cost of living. So it will have a material effect. I think going back to the budget statement in February, the fiscal prudence that the finance minister embarked upon, we would expect that this would continue in terms of this medium-term policy statement that will be coming out on Wednesday. And hopefully, I think I'm still quite bullish that with the finance minister's very hard work over the course of the last 6 months and business uniting behind him, I think we still have a chance to actually avoid the ratings downgrade. But if we continue with the current noisy democracy, with this noisy political framework, I think the chances are becoming less and less and less, because that's the political certainty that the ratings companies would also be looking at in order for us to avoid that downgrade. I think the BRICS developing their own ratings agency, it all depends on the institutional investors in North America and Europe on whether they would find that ratings agency credible. Because to the extent that they don't, it doesn't really make a difference.
Well, that's a conversation for a different day. Yes. We'll have to have a look at that and examine something like that. But right now, it's a situation where we find ourselves in, and we have to hope for the best. And certainly, we do not want to be in that junk status situation. Ben Bierman, Managing Director of Business Partners, thank you very much for talking to us here on the program, just talking to us about small businesses and this current challenging economic landscape, which is compounding small businesses in a dramatic way. But the story of the week is absolutely the midterm budget that the finance minister is going to be delivering on Wednesday, and a lot of direction hopefully be given there. Let's take a break.